I was, thinking about Tesla this weekend. What a shock. And, and I thought, what could Brian add to the show this week? And, Brian, you always have something to add.
That's true. I
Uh,
do.
yes. And I thought maybe people would be interested in Cybertruck this week.
What? That's crazy. That's crazy, Randy.
Well, I heard a tale. I heard stories. I actually thought about going out to Buena Park, which is the closest store that has a Cybertruck on display, the closest showroom. And I was thinking about going over and checking it out. And you know what? I just, football, 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 and I never got there. What did you think about all these folks lining up this weekend to take a look at something they can't even touch?
Look at all this brand damage that Elon has done, Randy.
I know.
Just think if he had been a little bit nicer to some random person, then surely the line would be 5% longer around the block to get in just to see a product that you can't touch, can't test drive. And if you place an order today, you can't get it for years. So this is very exciting. And you and I had talked offline about this, how products like this don't come around every day, every year, every generation. Can in the comments, I'd like to hear from you guys. When was the last time you saw a line for a product other than an iPhone, other than an Apple product?
And they were
And those
the people in line for the iPhone were going to get one.
going to pick it up. I want to have one in my paws.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
These folks are lining up to see a museum piece.
so Randy, when you have a Halo car like this,
Yeah.
let's say my wife and I go in and we look at it. Now, my wife loves the Cybertruck, which is crazy because she was like me, where we saw it at first and it was like I felt sick to my stomach. I had just recently invested in this company and I was like,
Have they
what,
done?
what, what is going on? I don't understand. But she's absolutely warmed up to it. If it was still available in a 6-seat configuration, we would not have purchased a Model Y. We'd have waited. But couples will go in and see it. What happens to that couple that goes in to see it where one of them vetoes it, says we are not buying that?
Oh.
What do they do then?
This could, so in
They
other
might.
words, you're saying this could start a whole bunch of divorces.
No. I mean, yes, but that's not what I was getting at. No, what could happen? That's what a Halo car is about. That's why the Viper was actually built. It wasn't because they wanted to sell 2,000 a year. It was because they wanted to get people to come into a showroom. This was, the Viper was pre-internet days. So if you wanted to see one, you had to go in and look at one. And they would put them on the turntables in the front display window. And as a teenager, I went and stood in front of the window and watched it spin because it was a thing of beauty. We'd never seen anything like it. Now, I was too young to purchase a Chrysler product at the time. And yeah, but the idea is people go in to look at it and then they buy something more practical that fits their needs or that's actually available. If you're an ad exec and I've got a product, I've got a Rivian let's use Rivian.
Yep.
I want you to get people into my showroom the way we're seeing with the Cybertruck. Is there an amount of money that would get real people in those kinds of numbers?
Well, there is not probably an amount of money. It would take an Apple-esque ad. It would take, as opposed to the actual spend, it would probably be more a case of coming up with something, an advertisement that would just knock people's socks off and cause them to go, I need to go see that in person. But in this particular case, there was no ad spend at all. It's only been the crazy hype and the nutty opportunity for a space age vehicle like, I won't say like no other, of course, because the car does have some Back to the Future elements to it.
Oh, sure. And, Back to the Future, the DeLorean wasn't popular the way it was after the movie,
Right.
because before the movie, it was just a novel flop. And then the movie made it iconic. They happened to attach it they got it lucky. But I mean, how lucky were they if they were already out of business at that point?
Yeah.
But it certainly preserved its place in the culture, in the global culture, really. But the thing with the kind of ad you describe is that the product would have to be something that is itself different. Rivian has some unique features, the boom box and the flashlight integrated in the door. No one needs to come in to see it. I get it. I can wrap my head around that. You can just tell me and I get it. But without redesigning your product, I just don't think that there is any amount of money that would get people to come look. We did discuss, you and I had discussed offline about how, well, maybe they could do some massive giveaway where every time everyone who comes to see it, you get a raffle ticket, and once a month we give away a truck. That would get people through the door, but I don't think it would get buyers through the door.
Yeah,
I think it would get dreamers who are in no position to buy one and wouldn't buy one. Because I would, if the Lightning said anyone who gets a test drive gets entered to win one, I would go do a test drive once a month.
Right.
But
you're not a Lightning client. You're not a customer. Yeah.
No. And I wouldn't be, although that's not quite true. These brands keep talking about how demand is too soft, asterisk. And the asterisk is for our product at our price. Right. And everyone knows that the North American charging standard is coming next year, year after. Well, I kind of need it now, don't I? If I had bought anything other than a Tesla, planning my charging trips becomes a task. It becomes a chore. And I've heard great stories in the Pacific Northwest about the network reliability for non-Tesla chargers.
Yes.
But I don't have I have very limited personal experience with it. I think I've stopped at one charger once with Lightning Ryan Fulcher, friend of the channel. And it worked fine. But I know how superchargers work, and they just work. Yes. Thanksgiving weekend, no lines. Now, when I did plug in to charge on Thanksgiving, it said, by the way, you're limited to 80% so we can keep this station moving. And I was like, great, that's fine. And as a result, it was still, when I got there, I was the first person who wasn't going every other, because every other stall was in use, literally half full on Thanksgiving Day. That's great. Mm-hmm. That's what you want, is enough capacity to not worry about it. On the drive home, I know where the chargers are. I would look at them off the freeway and see that they also were not backed up. It's great. Yeah. So when it comes to that soft demand, what do you do? I would buy a Lightning if it was $40,000. I would absolutely have bought one instead. I mean, it's still only a 5-seater. Is it a 5? Anyway, it is a 5-seater. I'm pretty sure. But I had to rule it out because it's too darn expensive for what it is.
Well, there is going to be eventually, if Ford and General Motors can ever get their pricing and their value proposition right, there will eventually be brand loyalty that will step in. And there will potentially be, vehicles that they build that will be interesting enough, are classic enough, are pretty enough. I mean, I buy my cars based on them being pretty. Okay. I am still a Dodge Challenger fan. I am still a Jaguar XKE and Jaguar sedan fan. I'm driving a Volvo sports sedan because it looks cool. It looks lovely. It's beautiful. It's a work of art. so there'll be people that will do those kinds of things. Now, I'm not particularly attracted to the work of art that are pickup trucks compared to sports sedans. That's me, but other people probably think of Ford, a big Ram, 2000 or whatever the numbers are, they probably think that is a work of art. So I can see where they could begin to bring folks back into the fold if they can do their thing, what they've been doing all along that's gotten them where they are today, at a reasonable price for a product that has the specs.
Absolutely. In the 90s, Ram was the last to redesign their pickup. And when they did, I still remember the review I read of it. They called it a bull-nosed, chrome-slathered hood. And it was, and it looked radically different. And their sales went from third place to maybe second, but whatever the number was, their sales exploded based on the design alone. It was something new and different. People wanted that. And the Chrysler family has never been known for their quality, for their durability, but they still sell. The Dodge Magnum, the little station wagon looking thing, I think it looks super cool. When I was reviewing cars in 08-ish, and that came out, that was one of the fleet cars they let me have for a week. And it was just cool. It was a cool looking car. And then years later, when it was time to buy a car, I was looking at prices, and they hadn't really come down as much as I thought they would, which is quite impressive. But, they discontinued that one, as I recall, but
well, they're discontinuing all the good ones. Even my Challenger has been discontinued. I'm so sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder what that's all about. I know they keep chasing margins, but you still have to put the vegetables on the plate, even if the kids aren't going to eat them, because that's part of your balanced meal, my friend. I don't understand. I think they're making a grave mistake by discontinuing affordable vehicles, even though they're not necessarily super profitable.
Yeah. So what we're looking at then is we're looking at a big week for Cybertruck. We're looking at folks coming in. I read the other day where they're only currently in 5% of the showrooms. So that means we have 20 times as many showrooms that this will eventually be in, 20 times as many opportunities for local news to put it on air, 20, and then all of these showroom events and all the other things that are taking place all just lead up to the big day on Thursday. And you'll be in the room or you'll be in the area, but so far you don't have a plus one. So I'm putting out the call once again. If any of you have a plus one, know someone who has a plus one, have a printer in the back room where you would know how to counterfeit a plus one. If you have a way to get Brian into the show, give me a call.
It would be exciting.
Find a way.
It would be very exciting. One thing I did want to say on the cost of this campaign, because this does have a cost, anything has a cost,
sure.
Is effectively zero, because you have to have the vehicles, you have to build them and not give them to a customer. You have to transport them to the location and put them up. But those two costs don't count because these vehicles will be sold. These are customer cars. That's probably why you can't touch them. I know in the case of the Bellevue showroom, I think it was, one of the showrooms, somebody had asked directly, is this a customer car? Is this going to be gone next week? And in their case, they said, nope, this one's just going to sit here and look pretty. In those cases, there is a holding cost, but it will eventually be converted into an actual sale. And everyone pays their own delivery. So those costs are temporary. Those are borrowed time costs. And then, and then of course, you do have to, in some cases, you do have to pay for an extra security guard to manage the line, which is a fantastic problem to have, that you have so much interest.
Yeah. So then I would actually think the opposite on these would be low VIN cars. So eventually they might replace them with higher VIN number cars. and sell those at a premium.
Oh, wow. You know what? All of those cars sitting in showrooms probably have VINs under 300.
Easily. Yeah.
Easily, probably under 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
interesting.
there's real possibilities to sell those at a premium. But in any case, what they're doing is they are generating a huge amount of activity leading up to Thursday. I have been on the show talking about how I think there will be FOMO in the stock between now and Thursday. We don't know what'll happen. It's always a big guess what happens on Thursday, and the stock on Friday might go down because of selling on the news or because Elon said that it was time to invade Czechoslovakia or something. Who knows what could happen that would cause the stock to go down after these shows. But between now and then, I think there's got to be investors out there that are going, oh man, this is just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. And I've seen people on X saying, well, I'm just frustrated because I want to, time the stock. Guys, stop trying to time the stock. We'll never have more data than the traders. We'll never be able to move and make trades as quickly as the algorithms. For me, it's all about execution. That's the one place I can beat Wall Street, is they don't often look at the 10, 20, 30-year horizon. If I'm the one looking at that, I can beat Wall Street. When I invested in Tesla in 2019, it was on the strength of the Model 3 in Fremont and the half-complete Giga Shanghai factory. And I said, looking at this company today at these prices, I am confident I can outperform the market over 10 years. I wasn't looking to get rich quick. And having purchased in 2019, I'm pretty confident I made the right decision.
I think so. I think you can be confident in your decision. That's a whole nother story. I'll just briefly say it. Over the weekend, Herbert did a video. I forget the guy's name that he had on his show, who is projecting a $35 trillion valuation for Tesla, 90% based on Cybertruck and Optimus only. That the rest, all of the rest of the product lines will be so minuscule compared to Optimus and Robotaxi that nobody will even care that they sell cars. Because, and I said this morning on my show, I think that actually it'll be bigger than that. It'll be, Optimus will be this massive number, and then Robotaxi will be a third of that. And then you'll go down to cars being 5%, energy being 5%, semi-truck being 5%, etc. So yeah, I think ultimately Optimus rules the day.
I would agree with you. If Optimus can execute the way it's intended, it's going to be the biggest thing, the biggest thing ever. It might take Wall Street a couple of years to wrap their head around it, but it doesn't matter. And I would agree that Cybertruck, I think the maximum value Cybertruck can deliver is the market cap of Ford plus a little bit. That's it. Because that's what Ford really is a truck company.
Truck company.
They do make cars and other things, but if anything, those are a drag. If you were to split off just the pickup truck division as a separate company, it would be the only part of the company with real value today.
Well, okay then, Brian, you will be off to check out what's happening on Thursday. On our show tomorrow, what I want to do is I want to go down a list of the things that might happen Thursday at that event, even though you'll be watching it on TV like us, unless somebody comes to your rescue. But I'm curious about the demos and the things that you think they might do on Thursday. We'll go over that on Tuesday's show. So everybody has something to look forward to because you'll be back again.
I will. That is true. And I will be participating in the live stream hosted by Zach and Jesse from Now You Know. So it's not like you won't get enough of me. If anything, you'll get more of me because I'm not at the event itself. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Okay. So thank you so much, Brian, for being on today. Look him up on his channel, My Tesla Weekend. No, not my,
Yeah.
My Tesla. Yeah, My Tesla Weekend. I'm always confusing it with Next Big Future. I don't know why, but it's probably an age thing. Anyway, Brian, it's been great having you on as always.
Thanks, Randy.
Can't find the box.